And during this time, I was just so angry. I was so angry. I was angry at the universe, and I literally almost gave up on the law of attraction. I was completely pissed. I was just like, universe, how could you flaunt something in front of me that I had asked for? I had written down the details. I knew exactly what I wanted. The universe showed me exactly what I wanted. It was this close, and it was this close in front of me, and I couldn't have it.
So find a way to
Hello everyone, my name is Monica, and in today's video I'm going to be telling you all about how I manifested my dream home. So first off, I want to start by saying that I know it has been way too long since I've uploaded a video. I've been really MIA for about the last month. I've missed creating content so much, so I'm glad to be back at it. The last time I was MIA for about this long was when I was manifesting my dream life, which, if this is your first time watching, or if you just don't know, my husband and I are full-time RVers, and we started doing that in March of last year in 2020. So that means that we live and work from our RV, and we travel all over the country just for fun. So I guess now it's pretty safe to say that if I am missing for a while here on YouTube, I'm probably in the middle of a big manifestation. Okay, with all that being said, let's just start the story time. I know I never gave a tour of the old RV. I didn't really feel like it was necessary because it was so small. Although I did love it, I thought it was beautiful and it felt very homey. I did, however, include some pictures in my other video, which I think was titled I Manifested My Dream Life, and I will post a link to that up above in case you want to watch that video first and then come back to this video. In that video, I go more into detail about why we decided on this lifestyle and how we were able to manage making it happen. In this video, I'm just going to talk about our new RV and why we decided to get one. So I'm going to say maybe about a couple of months ago, my husband, Chris, had shown me a video on YouTube, and this channel where all they do is go into different types of styles and brands of RVs, different floor plans and layouts, and they do tours to show you what it looks like, and they give you like specs and features and all of that good stuff to help you decide on which RV you want to buy. So I was not thinking about buying a new RV. Apparently my husband kind of was at the time, but he didn't tell me that. He just showed me this video of this RV, and I thought it was so gorgeous and it was so perfect, because we had gotten to this point where we were getting very frustrated with our old RV's layout because it was so small for the both of us and our two dogs to be living in full time. At first, it didn't seem like so much of a problem, but over time, as we decided that we wanted to be more off-grid, so we wanted to boondock or dry camp without hookups, we had to keep buying a lot of stuff. And we just didn't have the room to keep storing this stuff, like our generator, and we had to get extra propane tanks and water jugs and things that just take up space. And along with that, Chris works remotely from his job, and with our old RV's layout, when you walk through the front door, on the right was the bedroom, and then there was the living room, couch right in front of you, and the TV kind of separating the bedroom and the main area. Then on your left, there was the dining room, which was a U-shaped dinette with a long table, and then there was the kitchen opposite of that, and a bathroom in the very back, which for some reason had the biggest amount of space. So it was kind of a waste in a way because we couldn't really utilize it for the main area. So the way that we were set up for Chris to work, he would sit at that U-shaped dinette with the long table, and he had a big chair that he would sit at the table with. And so there only was like a little bit of space in between his chair and the sink from the kitchen, and this was the path to walk through. So basically on one side you have the bedroom and you have the living room, Then in the middle was him and his workstation and his chair. And then on the other side, you had access to the kitchen and the bathroom. So at any given point, I kind of had to decide which side of the RV I wanted to be on. And most of the time, I spent in the living room and the bedroom. But when Chris had meetings, and at one point for a week, right when this was happening, he had so many meetings from like the moment he started to the moment he was done with work. And I didn't want to be in the way or like be too loud or interfere. So I would just kind of be hiding in the bedroom, which wasn't really a bedroom. It was more just like a little area with a bed. You had a little bit of room to walk on either side. And then there was the TV and some cabinets that separated just the middle part. And then there was two little curtains that closed on both sides. So it really wasn't a room. It was all one area, one room. It didn't have a door, but just like a little space. And I started to get very anxious, feeling like I was trapped in that room. And anytime that I wanted to go to the bathroom or I wanted to go to the kitchen, I would have to say excuse me and have Chris move out of the way as much as he could, and I would have to squeeze past him to get to one side, and I'd have to squeeze past him to get to the other side, and it was just kind of making both of us nuts. We were not enjoying that at all, especially me feeling like I didn't have a space for myself or to go or to just chill during the day. So that was the main reason why we decided that we needed to get a bigger RV. And before, we had talked a little bit about this in the past, saying, you know, when we do get a new RV, because eventually you have to get a new one, they don't last forever. Like with a house or an apartment building, you can keep maintaining and you can make it last for a long time. You can't do that with an RV. It's like a vehicle. Eventually you just have to get a new one, right? And we were talking about doing this like years in advance, like 3-year minimum, 5 years preferably. But we had talked about getting a fifth wheel. And if you don't know much about RVs, like I didn't in the beginning, a fifth wheel goes over the bed of your truck and it's pulled with a hitch that's inside the truck. What we had at the time was a travel trailer, which pulls behind the truck. And travel trailers are typically a lot smaller than fifth wheels. And we only had one slide. And the slide was like minuscule. It hardly went out. So it still didn't give us a lot of space. So this travel trailer would have been fine actually if we were only using it for actual camping or to spend like a holiday or a week or a long weekend or anything like that throughout the year. But to live in full time just wasn't working for us, even though we're both pretty accustomed to living in very small spaces, but this one just happened to be a little too small. Another major reason why we wanted a fifth wheel is because Chris likes to fix things whenever they break, and he likes to customize. He's very a DIYer, and with travel trailers, it can be a little bit more difficult to get into spaces because it's very compact, versus with fifth wheels, it's typically better for getting access to things such as pipes or wires or panels or anything like that. You just have more room to work with, and that was a major thing that appealed to him. As of right now, we have decided we're going to be full-time RVing indefinitely. We don't have any other houses or any other properties that we own or rentals or anything like that. This is it for us. And we've decided that if we do want to settle down in the future, which I'm sure we will a little bit, we're either going to buy a house somewhere that we're going to stay stationary for maybe a few months out of the year whenever we want to take a break from traveling, or we might just buy a plot of land and maybe get some hookups rigged in there, and we'll live on the property inside of our RV. So since we know this is a lifestyle we want to do for a long time, it just makes sense to get a new RV. So the specific RV that we had seen in the video tour on YouTube was a Montana, I think a Keystone, Montana. I don't remember the exact model, but like I said, it was just perfect. It was beautiful. It had a kitchen island. It had lots of counter space. These are the things that are more important to me besides just having space. I knew I wanted a lot of windows. I really wanted it to be modern and sleek and just look super clean. And I don't particularly like very dark tones. unless it's really modern. But a lot of the older RVs are very brown and very dark on the inside, and I knew that was something I didn't want. And that is pretty much my criteria. Chris doesn't care as much. He's totally fine with having an older RV or something that is not as aesthetically pleasing as long as it's functional. And I don't think I'm really high maintenance when it comes to a lot of things. Like, I don't have a lot of clothes or jewelry or shoes or accessories. Like, I don't have a lot of any of that. I'm very minimalist. But I do know when I do want something specific, and I do know that where I live is very important, and I really do like it to be very bright and modern if possible. Our old RV wasn't modern. It was like 2011, but I thought it had so much character and charm, and I liked the finishes on the inside. So to me, it actually worked. I didn't have a problem with it at all. But I feel like that one was just kind of rare compared to a lot of the ones I've seen in person and online. I found out the reason why Chris showed me this particular RV, the Montana, is because it's also one that he really liked the layout of and he wanted to buy. But what we found out is that this particular model was too heavy for the truck that we have right now to pull, which means not only would we have to get rid of our current RV to buy a new one, we'd also have to get rid of our current truck, which we absolutely love and have only had about a year, in order to trade it for a new truck. And most likely, I think it was going to have to be a dually, which is super wide. And I already have trouble as it is parking in a lot of spaces. I cannot imagine driving a dually everywhere as our only vehicle for transportation. So that just kind of cut that out of the equation. Even though we did consider possibly doing that, ultimately we decided we didn't want to do that. So the next couple of days, Chris was doing a lot of research and looking for another RV that would be great for us, and I turned down every single one. I was like, nope, that's depressing. I don't like that. No, I just can't. And I was just being very, very choosy because I knew this was going to be the one that we're going to live in for like the next 10 to 12 years or however long it lasts. And I wanted to be something that we're both really happy with. Then after I was getting really discouraged because I was not liking anything that he was finding, I decided to finally take the matter into my own hands and to search for a new one on my own. And I kid you not, the first and only result I got with my search was the RV that I knew I wanted and was the one we ended up getting. I was on like Camping World or something like that. I had typed in what year I wanted to be, like this certain year or newer, and some other kind of specs, and then I had typed in how heavy it should be, like the maximum weight, and it was the only search result. And it was so funny. I remember being on my phone and I saw it and I went, "Hey babe, I found it." And he's like, "What? You found what?" I was like, "I found our new RV." And he's like, "Okay, cool, let me take a look." And he looked at it and he agreed too that it was great. And it's actually like a smaller version of the Montana that we really wanted. It's basically the same layout, same style, just a few different things that weren't major for us. So after I found the one that I knew for sure that we wanted, we had looked to see where the nearest one was going to be because we were going to be headed to Arizona at that point. And we wanted to see if there was any kind of dealership that might have it. It was very rare because it's a 2021. We haven't seen a lot of those out anywhere hardly. So I was very surprised we actually found one in Arizona where we were going to be staying for like a month or so. Before we came to Arizona, I had made the call to the dealership. They wanted to make sure it was still there because they said because of COVID, the RVs are like flying off the lot. This is 2020 was the year that a lot of Americans decided that they wanted to go RVing because they felt like they couldn't go anywhere else because they couldn't travel internationally. So everyone was just buying RVs, which meant that the inventory was getting really, really small. And they had went to the lot, checked to make sure that it was definitely there. And that was about a week before I went to go see it. So fingers crossed, we called back the day before we were going to go, a week later, and they said it was still there. We had talked about it ahead of time. We had both decided that we were not going to make any big decisions that day. We were not going to be pressured into purchasing it or doing anything that day. We were just simply going to see it. And of course, when we went to go see it, we just absolutely fell in love. It feels like it's twice as big as our old RV. It is super modern. It has the colors and interior that I love. It has the kitchen island. It has like pretty much everything I would want if I were buying a house or I were moving into a new apartment. This is exactly what I would choose. We came up with a list of questions to ask the salesperson. We had stayed for like a couple hours looking into every nook and cranny, making sure every light worked. Like we were being very, very thorough because we knew that this was most likely the one we were going to buy. At one point, the salesperson had to leave for a few minutes, and Chris told me, he's like, well, I'm sold. And I was like, yes, because I'm definitely sold too. And he decided to climb up on the ladder in the back, which is nice because we didn't have a ladder before. And he saw that it happened to have a solar panel already on it. And solar panels has been our end goal for a long time with RVing. It's just the most expensive project we'll have with the RV, and also having to make sure that we know how to wire it correctly. And we were super ecstatic when we saw that it already came with the panel, because the brochures and the salespeople, no one had mentioned it. So if he didn't climb up on the roof, we wouldn't have known that there was a solar panel. And this particular RV is off-grid ready. The dealership had specifically ordered it this way. So not only did it have the solar panel, it also is already pre-wired for solar, so we can add more panels in the future. And it comes with something called an inverter, which is something we had put on our old RV. We had done a lot of customizations to that one as well. But this one already came with an inverter, meaning that it has 3 outlets inside of the RV, one in the living room, one in the kitchen, and one in the bedroom, that works off of the battery and off of the solar. So all we have to do is turn it on, and even with no power hookups and without our generator being on, it still works when we plug something in. It even works with our Vitamix, which I believe is a very high-powered appliance. And that for me was a huge bonus, because we do a lot of off-grid camping. Every morning when I want to make a smoothie, I have to set up our generator and get that going for like 5 minutes while I'm getting it ready and I'm blending. And then as soon as I'm done, I have to go out and turn it off whenever I want to use any kind of appliance like that. So again, since that was something that we didn't have to reinstall, because it felt like we had literally just done it not that long ago, that was a huge selling point for us, as well as the solar. Another thing I forgot to mention, we didn't know the price of this RV until I had called the first time, because the price was not on the website. It said call to ask for price, which I did, and it was above what we wanted to spend, but we knew that this RV was worth it, that it was still in our price range, and we could afford it if we wanted to. So the next day we had decided to call, put down a deposit, and keep the RV on hold so it wouldn't be sold in the meantime. And then we had gone back within a couple of days to apply for financing through the dealership. This is where things started to kind of go downhill, and it was very discouraging. We had never bought an RV from a dealership. Our first one we had bought from a private person, and we got financing that same day within like minutes, like that. And we went to go pick up the RV the next day. With this one, we didn't know what to expect. We had told the dealership that we were full-timers, and they said that unfortunately that was probably going to be a problem, because they only had 2 lenders that might approve us, because a lot of banks are cracking down and are not extending loans to people who live in their RVs full-time. And my assumption with that is because they're afraid that it's going to depreciate even faster if people are constantly living in it, which is going to cause wear and tear if they have to come back and repossess it, which I totally understand. But we had applied anyways, and we were waiting there in the dealership, and the sales lady was like, okay, well, we'll get in touch, or we'll see you soon. And we're thinking, huh? Like, we were expecting it to go through the same day and be able to take it home pretty soon. But they were like, oh no, it can take a day, half a day, or something like that. So when we had applied, it was the day before Thanksgiving. So we knew they were going to be closed on Thanksgiving, which means we waited until Friday to hear back. Still didn't hear anything back. So I gave the dealership a call, and I was like, what's the deal? So the finance person told us that only one of them came back and said yes, but it was only like a partial yes. They were only going to give us about half of the loan asking amount, which was not sufficient enough for us. We technically had the other amount and savings, but we were not willing to use all of our savings just to get half the amount of the loan that we had asked for. They also told us that our credit scores were amazing. They told us the actual score, which I don't remember, but it was really close to like the highest score you can get. So they told us the credit wasn't the problem, the income wasn't the problem. The only problem was because we did not have a physical address that we could put where we lived because we lived full time in the RV. So we just have a mailbox forwarder in South Dakota where a lot of other full-time RVers have. I got really upset when I was on the phone. I kind of lost my cool and I was just like, well, what are we supposed to do? Should we just rent a place for a year and then come back and apply again? Because literally the only thing that is in between us and our dream home is the fact that we don't have a physical residence or a physical address to put on paper. That's literally it. And he told me, you know, you could do that, but I wouldn't recommend it. He was like, there's one other bank that you could try. You could do it online, but you'd have to do it yourself. And we'll still help you if you need any help or any documents or anything, but you're gonna have to do the loan process by yourself. I remember that day we were in Sedona and we were gonna go hiking with our dogs. We had just gotten to the hiking spot and it's really difficult to find parking anywhere for hiking there, at least during the time we were there close to Christmas. And we had gotten super lucky that we had found a spot. But we were both so upset that the financing didn't go through that we were basically like, we can't even enjoy going on this hike. So we went back home and we started the process with the bank they had given us. We applied online, we had called to get some info, and they told us that we should hear back in like a day. And then we didn't hear anything because this was on a Friday. We called Saturday. Then we were told there's nobody in loans there on the weekend. So then we had to wait till Monday. And I swear just these few days just felt like forever. And during this time, I was just so angry. I was so angry. I was angry at the universe. And I literally almost gave up on the law of attraction. I was completely pissed. I was just like, universe, how could you flaunt something in front of me that I had asked for? I had written down the details. I knew exactly what I wanted. The universe showed me exactly what I wanted. It was this close and it was this close in front of me. And I couldn't have it. Because we knew there was still a good chance that we wouldn't get approved with this other bank, even though other full-timers had some success with it. I am the type of person that when I know what I want, I know what I want. It's just like when you're with someone, when you're with your partner and people ask, well, how do you know they're the one? It's like, you just know. It's something you can't really explain. It's a feeling you get. And some examples for me, of course, my husband, I knew he was the one after like a month. I knew he was my soulmate. And then with my engagement ring, actually, I had tried on a few rings, and when I tried this one on, I knew this was the one. My wedding dress as well. I only tried on one dress when I went to go look for a dress. It was the one and only one I tried on, and I knew right away, this is the dress. I don't have a lot of doubts when it comes to certain decisions because I just go on my feelings of knowing that that's the one I really want. And even with all of these things, a lot of them were out of my price range. I still made it happen. I still manifested it somehow. Anyways, at this point, we didn't hear back for like a week. And also during this time, while we're waiting to hear back, we were in Sedona. So we did go hiking at one place. And if you don't know, Sedona has like 7 or so energy vortexes that are supposed to be very high vibrational, like really high frequency. And it makes you just feel good, and it like lifts and it raises your vibration when you're in it. So I decided, because this energy was so amplified, that I had a moment when I told Chris I want to go meditate for like 10 minutes up in this energy portal spot. And even though it was like freezing cold and we were sitting on the rock and it was freezing cold, I just closed my eyes, was doing some deep breathing, and I kept saying affirmations, and I just kept saying, I am so happy and I am so grateful now that I'm the owner of a 2021 Keystone Cougar 30 RLS. I just kept saying that over and over again. Another thing I did for the manifestation technique, besides doing the affirmation at the high energy portal, was there was also a full moon during that time. So I went outside, looked up at the full moon, and I said it again. I said, I am so happy and grateful now that I'm an owner of a 2021 Keystone Cougar 30 RLS. So I just kept affirming this during times I knew that the energy was stronger for manifesting. And then the last thing I did was visualization. So before we even actually got to see the RV in person, I would go through the pictures and I would imagine living there. I would look at all the different cabinets and go, okay, well, I think we could put this and this here. I could put that there. I could hang up this picture over on this wall. I'm going to put these flowers over here on this table. I was living in that RV before I was living in that RV. And after we went to go tour it, it made it even easier to visualize. So I knew what it felt like to walk up the steps, what it was like to be in the kitchen, what it was like to sit on the couch. And I imagined myself washing dishes and cooking in there and sitting on the couch and watching TV and looking out the windows, especially when we have a beautiful view out in nature and I can just watch the sunset. So those were the 3 techniques I used in between the time of knowing that we wanted to buy it until the point that we actually got the confirmation that we were approved for the loan, because I felt like I needed all the extra help I could get, because I had accepted that there was a big possibility that it wouldn't go through and we were not going to get this RV. And for me, at least, that was it. I knew we could go with an older one that would have been cheaper, that we could afford in cash, or one that would have been cheaper that we could afford with the lower loan amount. But that wasn't the option. I was like, this is the one. This is the one we're going to get. And when we finally heard back, they wanted a bunch of documents. So I spent like a full day trying to get all of these documents together. And then they kept sending us things in bits and pieces. So we didn't get any kind of overview of what to expect with this loan process. It was just like, okay, here you need to fill out this application. Here you need to fill out this paperwork. You need to send this paperwork. We need this, we need that. And they would ask for like one thing each day. So we're just like, at this point, we will be so lucky to move into this new RV by like next year, meaning this year, 2021, because it was just taking so long. I have bought cars in the past at dealerships. It's never taken that long. I've never bought a house. I can only imagine how long that must take. And during this time, we got really frustrated because we had a loan officer that was not communicating with us. He would not respond to our questions or our emails. He would say he's going to call, but then he would never call. And trying to get this loan finalized, I swear, was like a full-time job for me. I was calling them every day, sometimes twice a day, asking questions, trying to get everything that they were asking for together for probably another good week afterwards. I know in reality, 3 weeks is not that long. But I was already mentally moved into the new one, so it felt like a long time for me. But I can say it was definitely worth the wait. I would do it all over again if I had to. I'm so grateful that we were able to manifest our dream home, especially after writing down all the things that we wanted and discussing it. I didn't know if it was out there. I didn't know what it was going to look like. I didn't know, like I said, that the inventory was so low because of COVID for this year. And we had not anticipated buying a brand new one, like a 2021 where no one else has ever lived in it. I was originally okay with getting one that was used, like our old one was used, but like I said, this one was just too perfect to say no to. And so far, we are absolutely loving it. I did film an RV tour, and I was going to add it to this video and make it all one. But because the other video ended up being so long, and this video is getting pretty long too, I've just decided to upload them into 2 different videos. So if you want to see what the inside of our new RV looks like, make sure that you're subscribed and you have the notification bell on, and look forward to that one in the next day or so. Alright, I know this video turned out to be quite lengthy, but I wanted to give really specific details about how the manifestation went, because it was very rocky. It wasn't just a straightforward, okay, here's my list, and then we found the right one or we attracted the right one. It was kind of all over the place where I just wasn't sure if this was even going to work out. And since it did, I definitely wanted to share this with you guys. If you're trying to manifest something, do not give up. I know my story probably doesn't seem like that long as far as waiting only 3 weeks, but sometimes certain manifestations just take longer than others. I hope my story helps keep you encouraged in case you're starting to get discouraged. And I have a lot more videos about law of attraction coming up in the future, so stay tuned. Alright everyone, thank you so much for being here with me and for listening to my story. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye everyone.